Gee, Steve, what are we going to do tonight?
Same thing we do every podcast. Tell him how we sees it.
What am I going to do with him, Gobber?
Put him in training with the others.
No, I'm serious.
So am I.
He'd be killed before you let the first dragon out of its cage.
Oh, you don't know that.
I do know that,
No, you
actually.
don't.
No, actually, I do.
No, you don't.
Listen, you know what he's like. From the time he could crawl, he's been different. He doesn't listen. He has the attention span of a sparrow. I take him fishing and he goes hunting for trolls.
Trolls exist. They steal your socks, but only the left ones. What's with that?
When I was a boy,
Oh, here we go.
my father told me to bang my head against a rock, and I did it. I thought it was crazy, but I didn't question him. And you know what happened?
You got a headache.
That rock split in two. It taught me what a Viking could do, Gobber. He could crush mountains, level forests, tame seas. Even as a boy, I knew what I was, what I had to become. Hiccup is not that boy.
You can't stop him, Stoic. You can only prepare him. I know it seems hopeless, but the truth is you won't always be around to protect him. He's going to get out there again. He's probably out there now.
Here we go. It's How We Sees It, episode 288. This week we're coming to you with How to Train Your Dragon. Not the live-action remake that's coming out in a week and a half here on June 13th to theaters near you, but we're talking about the original, the one that made this happen, the one that everybody just loves and is beloved by anybody who's watched. I've never heard a bad word about this movie, and if they do have a bad word, don't say it to me because I'll punch you in the face. No, I'm kidding.
I haven't even shared my opinion. What are we?
I know. I'm just telling you right ahead of time.
It's a good thing we're on Discord, so you can't punch me. But no worries. I have some,
actually. You know what? I would punch you, but we've done that before. We sparred. I would never punch someone over a movie. I would just turn my nose up to them and just. Anyhow, this is a kind of a bonus throwback for us. When we started our throwback movies, one of the things we wanted to do was try and go back 10, 15, 20 years and hit things in the month. We looked at this one earlier in the year. I believe it was March 2010. This was released. And I was like, oh, we really could do this because it's a great movie. But we knew that the live action was coming out, so we wanted to hold off and kind of get it right before that. So now you're getting it from us.
And it's kind of interesting. It's going from, we're getting the live action. 15 years ago, we got the animated, and another, 7 years before that was when the original book dropped, which was 2003. It's because this is based off of a series of many books. Like a dozen books, all how to train or how to seize or how to betray or how to fight, how to break a dragon's heart, how to steal a dragon's sword. Anyway, that's the gist of the theme, but a little bit different storytelling. It didn't. They took some liberties with the animated 2000.
Well, not only that, but it's kind of a prequel to the books. The books all start off with the dragons being friendly and stuff, and this is kind of like how it got to that point, is what I heard. I actually own the books.
Do you?
And never
really?
Looked at them.
Yeah,
I own a set of them, but I just have never read them.
Yeah, it's more. It sounds like the training is more a part of the culture. It's like that's a part of your growth as you learn to train your dragon, and whereas that's absolutely not the story here. But
what it was is they wanted to do that story, and they were like, how do we do it? And they're like, let's go to a prequel and get how these people and these dragons came together as this tight-knit group of dragon riders and friends and family and all that. And so it kind of it's a prequel. It did what Star Wars couldn't. It made a better prequel than the things it was prequeling.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we're going to talk about that. I'm Noah, your main host, and with me as always, my main man, Steve. How you doing, Steve?
I am good. And I haven't heard that in a while, that introduction.
I know.
And it's very refreshing to not have anything to say when you ask me that, I just stutter through my response.
It's funny. I I know there's a lot of real professional podcasts out there, and they have these, scripts and all this, and they do these things. And I was like, I really should do that sometime. And then I go, nah, probably not. It's not.
I've tried scripts before where I'll try to like plan out what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. I'd rather have an awkward response that's just kind of I stumble through rather than something that I've kind of scripted out, because I don't know. To me, that just comes across as elevated awkwardness, or
Yes.
it just doesn't sound spontaneous and real, which is why I think that's why I enjoy doing these podcasts with you, is just to kind of like, you come up with some thoughts ahead of time, you throw those, you write them, jot them down. Like I was telling you beforehand, I wrote a bunch of notes, but it's all kind of chaotic. So I don't know where we're going to go with this conversation. But I mean,
that's what it is.
Then you
It's
just kind of draw from your mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, all right. Long story short.
No,
look at me rambling on.
Short story long, but yes, no, it is what it is. We're having a conversation. We're not having a scripted discussion of this movie. We're not paid by the animation studios or anything like that to talk about this movie. We're talking about it out of sheer love or sheer hate, depending on what we're talking about, I guess. But we're just discussing it. It's what we enjoy doing, is discussing movie, shows, and all the other stuff. But what we also really love to do is we like to drink when we're doing this. And to do that, we have to create cocktails to the show that we're doing, and that's no different this time. Once again, I racked my brain right up to the last minute trying to figure out. You know what it is you always put such a high level on your stuff that it makes me just try. I'm like, I got to come up with something that unique and just spectacular.
I put the pressure on you.
You do. But what I'm finding is that I put this pressure on myself, and when it really starts to come together, it really starts to come together. And I think that's going to be no different. I'm going to go real quick just because I got mine right here, and I want to get a sip of it. I love Toothless as just a character, as the dragon, as the main gist of this movie. Him and Hiccup, and there's something about it. He's very cat-like and everything like that, and it warms my heart every time I see him, especially when he kind of gets that smile look on his face and the eyes are bright. There's just something about it. I was like, I want that dragon.
And it comes from a different angle, like his head's upside down as you look.
Yeah. It's just everything he does is just cool. So I wanted to do something to kind of go with Toothless, and I was like, do I do a Toothless? How do you do a Toothless cocktail? But what I came up with is what I call my Night Fury. And what I started going through is like just that darkness, the scariness of the Night Fury, the never can see it. It's dark, it's black, it's everything. So I started thinking blackberries, and I went to the store to get some actual blackberries. I'm going to muddle some blackberries. And like I said, I was still trying to figure it all out. And what I found was right now they have Blackberry Crown Royal whiskey was on the shelf. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, that changes what I was planning, but I like where it's going to go. I really liked the idea of that. So I went 2 ounces of Blackberry Crown Royal whiskey. I did 1 ounce of a blue carousel because I wanted to get that dark black bluish color, that midnight, that night kind of style of it. I was looking at my I'm like, I got to have something else. I can't just go with one liquor in this. It's got to have something more. And I was looking around and I go, I want something unique. What would work? And so I found I have a bottle of a blackstrap rum, and I'm like, ooh, that's going to add a really interesting flavor to this. It's like a burnt molasses almost, right? It's got a distinct flavor, but it's also got that dark color, and it goes into that midnight theme and that darkness and stuff like that. So I threw in half an ounce of that blackstrap rum. Then I took, and this is where started off, I took a bar spoon of a blackberry preserve that I got today, and I put it in a shaker with a little bit of ice and shook it up really good, because I was like, I haven't done that. I was going to muddle some, but I was like, oh, I'll do a blackberry preserve instead of regular, because then I can have some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches later. I like that. So did that, poured that over ice. And then the topper for this one, and this is where I had a small hiccup. I've been drinking these C4 energy drinks lately. when I was grabbing the one, I grabbed the one that I wanted. It's a C4 and it was a blue raspberry flavor. And I was like, oh, perfect. But then I pulled it out and the can was dented. And I'm like, ah. So I put it back on the shelf and I grabbed the one behind it that was also blue on the top, but apparently it was a different flavor. And I didn't realize it till I got it home and pulled it out of the fridge. And I was like, oh, shit. But I looked at it and I was like, oh, this actually kind of works. So it's a C4. I topped this off with a C4 energy drink. This one is a frozen bombsicle. Now, the reason I went with the C4 is because the Night Fury is the explosive dragon, right? They're the most dangerous. They got that sharp, explosive fire that's not really fire. It's more like a missile.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
like a little
to me,
neutron blast of some. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's got like an icy look to it, like almost like it's firing out this ice missile that blows up, and that's at your frozen bombsicle. And I was like, it works. So my Hiccup actually worked out better, just like in this movie. Our Hiccup starts off kind of odd, ends up really pulling through. So that is my Night Fury.
Nice. Have you tasted it yet? This is the first taste?
It's the first taste, and
color's great. It really reminds me of
yeah,
at least through over Discord it does.
It's almost black, and it's got like a bubbly to it, so it's got a shininess. It's very sweet, but it's very good. This could probably like a little bit of lemon juice to kind of kick it off a little bit.
Got some citrus, yeah.
Yeah,
some acid.
but other than that, it's really, really good.
Good.
Yeah, if I was gonna make it again, I'd probably put a little bit of lemon in, or maybe even drop a little limoncello in it, or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah, very tasty. I like it. All right, Steve, what do you got for us?
All right. Well, I started out. I watched this for the second time, I believe. I believe this is the second time I've seen it. Was the other night, and one of the things that I don't know, about halfway through the movie, it just kind of struck me that the lead adults, were speaking with kind of a heavy Scottish accent, and all the youngsters were speaking with an American accent. And I just kept watching. I'm like, that's interesting. It's really effective, but why would they do that? And I liked this idea of kind of this, it's the idea of kind of the old Viking ways versus the youthful, forward-thinking spirit that I liked the balance. I wonder why they did that. I did a little bit more exploring on that, but I thought that's how I'm gonna build my cocktail. I'm gonna have a layered cocktail, and I'm gonna have one half that's leaning into the youthful American forward-thinking spirit, as I said, and then the more heavy Scottish old ways. And so I thought, well, I'm going to use for my whiskey. I'm going to put a whiskey in both. I'm going to put Scotch whiskey on one side and an American bourbon on the other side, and start that as kind of my base spirit for each layer. So here's what I did. I started with the base layer. This I called the hammer layer. This is the adult Scottish smoky side of things. I used 1 ounce of a peaty Scotch. I wanted to get a little smoke in there for the where there's smoke, there's fire, and a ½ ounce of Drambuie. That's a whiskey liqueur, honey base, which I liked, with some Angostura bitters. Again, kind of the old world bitters that I thought was good for that. And I stirred that up on ice. And then for my other layer, I wanted something a little brighter. Again, I have my bourbon, but I didn't want it quite as strong on the bourbon. So I only used a ½ ounce of the bourbon, ½ ounce of lemon juice, and then I used 1 ounce of a raspberry liqueur to kind of brighten it up a little bit, give it some sweetness. And I kind of liked the idea of a fruit-forward thing blending with a smoky drink. So what I did is I shook that one because I got the lemon juice. So I got on one hand, one layer's being stirred, the other layer's being shaken. So I tried to think, well, what does that make sense? Does that kind of fit in with my theme? But I liked this idea of the chaotic shaking that was going on, whereas the stirring is just a little bit more calm, composed, traditional. This idea. So I built it by starting with the hammer layer, and I called the youthful layer my Hiccup layer. and I shook that and I kind of poured it over a spoon just to try to. I mean, I didn't get a difference in color, but I did kind of want to layer it a little bit, and then I garnished it with. I skewered a raspberry and a lemon twist around that, and I took a drink, and I got to tell you. I like this. It's interesting because the standouts are the smoke from the scotch and the raspberry, and they are both very distinct, and yet they complement each other well. That's what I was hoping for, because that to me is something that I think the movie does effectively. So I called this the Hammer Hiccup, which I thought was kind of a cool name, and I drank it earlier when I was trying it out. So now I have a second one that I haven't taken a sip yet from, but that's it. I also got really kind of geeked out on the writing in the movie, and so when I sent you a copy of the cocktail, I translated it to the Old Norse script, which.
Runes.
I was hoping actually. I also downloaded a font, just a Norse font, so it would actually appear in English, so you could actually read it. But I couldn't copy that to my text editor when I sent it to you. But for some reason, I could copy the Norse code. So I put the Norse code. Maybe that's the wrong word. The old Norse writing.
Yeah, they'd be the runes.
Yeah. So I sent the translation of the drink as well. So those are all there.
Nice.
Anyway, cheers. So
awesome. That sounds really good. I love, like I said, you always get this deep thoughts on these and go and you find the greatest ingredients to make it. I almost went with a mezcal to get a smokiness in mine. Yep. That's what I was going to do before I saw that blackstrap rum. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Funny thing too, the runes, the Scottish runes and stuff like that, or the Old Norse runes. I had books of those and kind of got into those for a while, where it's kind of like, a witchcraft type thing where you throw the runes and read them, or you basically create runes for protection. And I used to stamp them into leather as kind of a little protective, or good luck charms or things like that. And so, it's kind of cool. At one point I was able to read runes to an extent. Nice. It was kind of cool. I still have the books and stuff. I just haven't done it in forever. So, but it was something I was really into for a while. So when I saw that come across, I was like, oh, that's neat. I like it. Awesome. Yeah. You talk about the Scottish accents and stuff like that. And part of it, I think, is the actors they pulled, is one side of it. They got Gerard Butler for Stoic, who has that natural accent. And then my favorite, one of my absolute favorites in this movie, in just a lot of the stuff he's done, Gobber, voiced by Craig Ferguson.
I know you've brought him brought him up a lot recently.
He is so. He had the best late night show ever. If you've never watched it, it's worth going. I've gone back and watched full episodes that are no longer relevant from time, but are still so funny.
He's so
good.
It's such a good role for him to be behind the desk and interviewing people. But I got to say, some of the best interviews are when he's flirting with a
that's every time almost
a young lady. That's
almost every single time. It's just, and it's not that he flirts, but it's a lot of flirting back.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
It's not like he's just a creep flirting with him. A lot of times they start it and he just doesn't hold back. And it was just so much fun. So I was really, it's just been one of my favorite things to just hear him and, see Gobber is like, yeah, I could see that being a Craig Ferguson type guy.
Sure.
He just, everything about him.
And you're right, as far as the accents. DreamWorks just joked that it just felt right for big bearded warriors to have this big Scottish accent, which the
original story of Burke, right? The island of Burke, the writer, she grew up in a small Scottish town, and so she based Burke kind of off of that where she grew up and where she was spent this isolation in this small Scottish village on that. So it kind of makes sense that it was that.
I don't know if that would be the reason why they did it. I doubt that was. To me, there's something that kind of fits with I liked the explanation, the big bearded warriors. It felt right.
Vikings,
especially when you're casting. Well, yeah, but Vikings, they don't speak Scottish.
They landed in Scotland at the time. We don't know if they didn't bring it over with them.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that. So you're saying you think they were leaning into that as what a possible accent would be?
Yeah.
And then why not the younger people? Why were those all completely American? All of them.
It never even dawned on me or even made me think. I was just like, okay. Yeah. I seriously, until you said it, I was like, I never even thought about it. I've seen this movie over 20 times.
It's interesting. I mean, I think it really works.
Yes, it does.
I think it probably would have been a little distracting if you had people, trying to.
It's like today. I mean, you've got what normal adults over 25 speak and sound like, and then you got the TikTok generation that have all these fucking words that you're like, what the fuck are you even saying? What is the hell does that mean? My daughters, when they've come home with some of these words, my youngest 100%, sometimes she says some stuff and I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about?
I think
it is a different language.
I think it also kind of the contrast between that old world thinking and the new world thinking that really kind of the themes that come out of the movie in the long run when, because Hiccup is much more trying to reach into his heart and use empathy to try to connect with these beasts and so it's a different type of thinking than his father's used to.
It's a great growing though, because in the beginning, he's like, why are you trying to get in this? He's like, well, I see a dragon and I gotta kill it, and he's just, he's trying to be so much like everybody else. He just wants. I mean, he even says in one of his conversations with Gobber, he's like, I just want to be one of you guys, and he, and it's one of my things that makes me laugh so much in this. He's like, you got to just quit being all of this, and he goes, you just pointed at all of me, and he's like, yeah,
yeah.
So it's a growing point because Hiccup is trying to fit in with his father's wishes and what everybody is doing, and then along the way he finds himself and what he's really,
he finds his own conviction.
And he does it in a way too. It's like it's a very obvious thing in the beginning, and this is anyone that never fit in with the normal crowd, right? Everybody has got axes and swords, and they're out to kill, and they're all very buff and beefy and all this, and they're all about this kill the dragon kind of thing. And he can't do it physically because he's smaller, not as athletic and stuff. But he makes these contraptions, right? He makes the one that takes down the Night Fury, and then he builds the wing, and he's got this very mechanical mind about him. Which really the only one that kind of also shows that is Gobber, right? He's the blacksmith, but he also it's kind of funny. I don't know if you even pick up on it. He has his prosthetic hand dish thing, and he has he has 16 different implements he puts on his hand throughout the movie.
No, I didn't notice that.
He changes it out for different things several different times, and it's just one of those, but he's the mechanical engineering mind of Burke.
Yeah.
And his apprentice is the same. He's got that mechanical mind, so he just thinks differently than his father and the rest of the people around him. And when he goes to try and be like them, he discovers that he's not. He's different, but he's also, he doesn't stow it away. He does, but he comes out eventually, and he changes the culture.
He does. I think I wrote down just a little bit of dialogue when Astrid comes down and discovers Toothless and kind of sees the whole situation going on, and she just can't believe what's going on, and she's like, because I forget the beginning of the quote, but I just wrote down, because you want to save your pet dragon. And there's a moment where at this moment, he looks at her and says, yes. And he says it with, they animated this brilliantly, because all he has to say is yes. And the conviction is enough to where she just kind of like pauses and she says, okay. And right there, I think is just where we as an audience get to see, oh man, he's found his conviction. He knows exactly what he wants. He is now finding a certain courage in going against his father. He's found something that really moves him. I thought that was a very well scripted, well performed, well animated.
Oh yeah, there's some great parts. There's another part, and it's another line with him with Astrid, and he says, "I wouldn't kill him because he looked at me, or he looked as frightened as I was. I looked at him and I saw myself." And it's this, it's just so cool, and I love his first interaction with Toothless. He's coming up on him and he's all still tied up. And, he goes up and he's very nervous and I'm going to kill you. And Toothless just kind of looks at him and gives him this eye and then just rolls his head back and just kind of like, okay, yeah, I can't do anything about it. I'm just going to give in to whatever rather than fight it and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh, it's emotional, right? And very touching, but it's also very simple in it. And it's just like, oh, it's so good. That's what they did with this in the animation is nothing like, oh my God, it's the greatest animation ever. They blew it away. They did all this new stuff. No, they just did really good story and drew it very well and rendered it. And there's nothing spectacular about it.
I think it has some pretty spectacular animation in how they animated the expressions, because I think that tells the voice actors are one thing, but I think the expressions that we see, you talk about Toothless already, and just kind of because Toothless doesn't speak, it's all in the expression. That's the animation. I think that's brilliant. I think they changed the story up a lot to make flight more of a thing in the story, just so that they can lean into that animation. And I believe it came out in 3D too. Like they actually animated it in 3D. I didn't see it in the theaters, so I don't think I did.
I think I did. I don't remember watching this in 3D. And you talk about the facial expressions and stuff like that. A lot of the people involved with this were people that were involved with Lilo and Stitch.
Well, yeah, the director, right? I think the director team. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. The directors and stuff like that. So they took a lot of what they did in Lilo and Stitch with that has a lot of facial expressions. Interesting.
That's been adapted into live action at the same time. They
got a
twofer here. We can
another, and I'll be one of the and it's people may dislike me for this, but I never cared for Lilo and Stitch. It was one of my, not that I didn't disliked it. I just was never into it. It was just, I think I was at the time, I was a father, and the fact of the Stitch being this out of control, destructive force just bugged me. It was like,
I think I saw it once and I thought, oh, this is fine. It didn't resonate so much.
Yeah.
Although I did see a trailer for the new live action movie, and I was so charmed by the one that plays, is it Lilo, the little girl, that I was like, oh, I liked that. Oh, that's going to capture something new that it's hard to do in animation, is to kind of capture that youthfulness that I don't know. Under a good director, sometimes you can get these moments that just are sincere and innocent, that just because a director is able to put the camera and make it go when the young performer is doing something. And then I saw an interview with her, and I was kind of like rolled my eyes a little bit, because she sounded like she was a little bit more into the whole performance thing. But whatever, that's the way it goes. I still wouldn't mind seeing the movie just to
I don't think I've seen trailer for it at all. But I have no interest in it.
They did
really.
Lilo. They animated Lilo exactly like the movie
Stitch.
They animated Stitch the same way as they did the animated movie, which is probably, they learned their lesson from how Sonic the Hedgehog got in so much trouble when they tried to
because it didn't look like it.
They tried to change the animation, and we all know what happened with that. Which is when we do talk about animated movies that turned into live action. That's something we can discuss, because I know we're going to talk about that at some point.
We'll get to that.
Yep.
I think we'll
absolutely.
deal with that.
We don't need to do that yet.
That's a whole nother story. But yeah, so I just mean that they didn't do like when Finding Nemo came out, there was this big deal about what they did with animated water and stuff like that.
Like monsters, the monsters, the hair was a big thing. Monsters.
Yeah, there was nothing new in this that they were like, oh, check out this new style we did. But like I said, what they did is they did a really good job with what they did, and a good story behind it. I think that's really what carries this one for me.
I hear what you're saying. I'm gonna say I thought the story was fine. It was simple. To me, it's the characters. It's especially the leads.
To me, the story is the characters.
I wasn't as impressed with some of the side characters. They were kind of like whatever. But the main.
Oh, come on, Fish Legs. Fish Legs was incredible.
Who's Fish Legs? Wait, hang on.
He's kind of he's the little chubby guy that rides the Gronkle that has all the stats memorized. He is the nerd personified hero in this movie. He is every D&D nerd character wrapped up into one.
You know what I think kind of bugged me is when I recognized all their voices and I tied them, super bad. I thought super bad with Fish
He's
Legs
McLovin
and who's the other one?
Jonah Hill. Snotlout.
That I kind of rolled my, and then I think even the lead Hiccup is from the same sort of troupe of actors.
Yeah. He's a little less into those two. Definitely have a niche.
It's funny. I would have thought you would have been a little bit more annoyed at kind of that.
So for me,
comic. Well, especially with who's the actor that you roll your eyes at the most from Superbad.
It's Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen, right? Yeah. Some of the antics in the background felt a little bit like that same sort of vibe.
Okay, so you got T.J. Miller as Tough Nut and Kristen Wiig as Rough Nut, the brother-sister team. And they just made me laugh so much in this. So Rough Nut was a character that was completely new. They weren't a brother-sister team in the books, apparently. So she's a completely new character. They brought her in as another female character to kind of have a little bit more of a female forwardness. Astrid, the main female kind of love interest, isn't in the books at all, from what I understand. So she's completely new, and I thought she killed it. I thought she was a great character and stuff like that.
I loved her introduction with the explosion behind her as she just kind of this slow motion.
Out,
they're just teasing that whole trope, and I thought it was epic. She does the little wave of her hair.
I thought they were so much fun. To me, it was that crew of friends that that are together, and they just they kind of go through everything. Now, I
guess to me it felt a little noisy and less. It didn't drive the story much, and so I'm not saying I didn't care for it. I'm just saying it didn't resonate to the level of the leads, which I guess it's not supposed to, but I like it when there's a little bit more of an ensemble. To me, the Stoic.
This is all about.
Gobber and Stoic. I loved seeing the two of them interact, and especially with Hiccup. I thought that was a much better balance on that side.
Well, and you're right, it is, and I think what happens is so there's two more movies to this, right? There's and then there's plenty of specials. There's also 2 full animated series that ran. One had like 78 episodes.
Wow.
It's called Dragons, the Race to the Edge, and then There was another one, and a lot of the main actors came back and voiced this for that series. But that one deals more with the crew, the kids, and their dragons.
Good.
And so I think that's why. And I watched all of those, and I think because they get so much more into that tight knit group after the movie, right? The first movie is more about Hiccup, a little bit of Astrid, and a little bit of just him and Toothless kind of creating their bond, where the next one is a lot more interaction with all of them, and they all get a little bit more lead. And we get introduced to a ton more dragons in these series. So if you're really into the dragons in this, go check out the animated series. So much in them.
This was a very simple story about just a father and son, I think, at its heart, and the relationship, and how kind of the Toothless becomes the bridge to that relationship. Oh my gosh, now I'm sounding like a shrink. But I think it worked better as a simple story the way it was. And you say the script was a big part of it. I'm just saying I think the characters are what shined the most.
Well, okay, so when I say script, to me that is the characters.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
The written words is the script. And that is what the characters get to say, and the actors bring that in his voice acting and great animation to draw
the animation. Yeah.
So that is the script and the direction. So I think that all comes into one big bucket.
Good.
Now
fair.
they're little strings. So that's we're saying the same thing. I think I'm calling it more the script because I'm encompassing all of it. You're saying more just the characters, which is all part of it to me. And yes, you're right. This does have two parts. It's a father son. A son that just wants to live up to his father's expectations, where a father's looking down on him and like, this motherfucker, it's the athlete father that's got the computer nerd son, and
sure.
And so he's it's just this disappointment that the son feels, whether or not it's 100% true, and this one that my wife watching this the last time. You said you saw this twice. I've seen this twice in just this week. But we're watching it and she's like, God, I hate his dad. He's such a dick. And I was like, I go, I get it. But they play it up, right?
We're talking about Gerard Butler.
Yeah. Well, Stoic is a jerk of a father,
Okay. Well, then don't take this the wrong way, but he reminds me of you.
Oh, I'm not saying he's not perfectly cast, and yes, but think about how he doesn't say it to him directly, but even his conversation with Gobber, he's like, he's like, oh my God, he's such an embarrassment. How could this be my son? I was gonna save this for the end, but one of my favorite lines from this at all is Hiccup talking to Gobber, and he's talking about his dad. He's like, "Excuse me, barmaid, I'm afraid you brought me the wrong offspring. I ordered an extra large boy with beefy arms and extra guts and glory on the side. This here is a walking fishbone." And that's him.
And that's from Gobber. That Gobber says that.
That is Hiccup imitating his father.
That's perfect. That's great. So, that shows like he's totally self-aware of this of everything, but he's a strong character, Hiccup, just because he grows to understand his conviction in such a good way, in such a powerful way that it resonates with the audience. I think it's a very well written character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in that same scene where he does that, he's he's like, Gobber then comes back. He goes, "You're thinking about this all wrong. It's not so much what you look like, it's what's inside he can't stand." It's just adding insult on injury. And then he's like, "Thanks for summing that up." And then he's like, "Look, at this point stop trying so hard to be something you're not." And he goes, "I just want to be one of you guys." And this is early in the show, right? So right off the bat, it's just Hiccup trying to fit in, like all kids, right? Every kid everywhere has had this point where they just want to be part of the crowd, fit in, and it doesn't matter. It could be, this could be even complete reverse of what this is. You got a complete jock, right? and all the computer nerds are sitting around laughing about a video game, and he just feels on the outside. You know, it happens. It's just because you're the popular kid doesn't mean you don't get these same feelings. But this is a very easy look into this. Is like, I just want to fit in. I just want to be part of the main group.
True. He wants to fit in, and he wants his dad's support,
approval. Yeah. He doesn't want to just, you know, wear his mom's half bra on his head. He wants to actually, you know, be part of the group.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious too. That was such a funny thing. It's a matching set, you know.
It's funny too because Hiccup is more the intellectual, you know, and when
100%.
As compared to his dad, who is much more rough and tumble, and yet you do see in the end his father is very capable of understanding when it's really truly time to see someone for who they are.
There's it's the, I don't know if you want to call it a come to Jesus moment or a I'm going to save this character so he's not a total asshole. But in the end, after everything that Stoic's done, that's just completely fucked up. And he dives down in and saves Hiccup, and then goes back down in and saves Toothless in the water. It's one of those moments where you're like, okay, he did the right thing when the right thing was needed.
Yes.
Kind of thing. And it's like, okay, so he gets a little bit of savior, but yeah, when she said it, I looked over at her and I'm like, oh, why do you got to ruin everything?
Wait, who?
When she said Stoic's such an asshole, and I was like, why do you got to ruin everything? I know he is, but come on, he's a good guy in the end. But no, I could see where people would think I could be that guy. 100%.
Well, it's your heart, buddy. You know, it's.
Well, it is. He leads with his heart, right? His whole thing is he's got to protect his people from these dragons that are stealing their food. And, you know, he's got all these people that he's got to feed. That's one of the things he talks about. And you know, he's got this son that he's afraid that's going to get hurt, but he doesn't know how to deal with that directly. Like, he's like, just stay out of the way because I can't stay back to protect you. And that's what I would have to do if you're out in the middle of this, right? He's like, I got all these other people I got to protect. But if you step out there, you become more important, and then I have to protect you. But he just doesn't know how to say that in a way that comes across as not an asshole move. Like, you know, just stay where you're supposed to be, you know, which I'm probably do all the time.
So one of the things about this movie that I grappled with a little bit was the message that it was kind of leaning to this idea of empathy over rather than just fight, kill. Let's learn to accept people and understand some, you know. But I thought there was a little bit of a danger, especially for a movie that is for kids. I think. I mean, I know it's for all ages, but as an animated movie, it kind of is for kids, and it really shows that there's a fine line between risk and recklessness, you know, and Hiccup certainly takes risks that in most circumstances in life he would be killed for, you know. I mean, and so in this case empathy wins, but what do you think about that idea of
So what I got from this is yes, empathy is the way, and what it is it's learning to look outside the norm with your own perspective, right? I've got one of the lines up in front of me right now. Hiccup, he says, everything we know about you guys is wrong, you know, when he realizes that I think it's like, I think Gobbert tells him, he's like, you know, the dragon, no matter what, will always go for the kill. And he starts thinking to himself, and they do the voiceover. They're like, oh, why didn't he try and kill me? And it's like, everything we know about these guys is wrong. And so it's looking outside of the social media narrative and using your own brain instead of
you're right to point that out. It does show his kind of internal dialogue where he's kind of piecing this together like a puzzle. So it's not like he's just being completely reckless. He is making decisions that make sense in the moment. It's still a little risky for a movie because you don't want the kids to go out and start playing with snakes or playing with mountain lions or something like that. But he also does it in a very cautious way. Like, I mean, he doesn't ride the dragon the very first day. Yeah,
he literally is like, I can't kill you, so I'm going to set you free. And then he goes back and he's like, well, why didn't you leave? And he realizes, oh shit, you can't because there's something wrong. And he slowly works his way into it. Now, to me, that is he's a thinker, right? He's not a Stoic talks about it at one point. He's like, my dad told me to just bang my head on a rock, and I did. Shows that how different he is from his father, that he uses his head other than something to bang on a rock.
Right.
And he thinks through the processes, and that's what changes. You got it. This is God. I can't believe it. This is an analogy that we need to see more of. That think outside the box. Don't listen to what everybody's telling you. Find your own way in this world, and hopefully that changes the world for the better. Now, this one happens to work out. Maybe it doesn't always work out, but this is one of those. Is don't just go with the flow. Sometimes you have to think and act on your own. And sometimes, you have to take risks.
Yeah. And find your superpower. I mean, with Hiccup, his empathy was his superpower. He connected with it enough to where he could resonate with whatever was coming out of Toothless and connect. That's not something that anyone can do. That's something that takes a level of understanding of, I don't know, your emotional depth and stuff. I really think that's a critical thing that this movie tried to express, and was his ultimate way to our hearts, or to the epic conclusion of this movie too.
To me, that it wasn't necessarily that was the way that got my heart. What to me is Toothless. I'm a cat lover, right? If people don't know that off the hand. Yeah. They took originally Toothless was going to be more wolf-like, which I would have been okay with too. I love fucking wolves. But there's something about the cat mentality, right? The playfulness, the visual of the face, there was something about that hooked up to that pet owner relationship. When you have a pet that you just love so much, and that pet loves you back, it's this bond, and that's they latched onto a little bit of that, and I think that was one of the things that really helped out. And the other, I mean, there's the whole dragon thing of it too. Is like dragons have been around in every culture of a mythology and stuff like that. It's just one of those. It's like, man, who wouldn't want to ride a dragon? And just the other one that got me on this, and it's very in your face, subtle, but it's a handy, capable kind of message, right? Toothless has the broken tail, can't fly on its own, has to have a prosthetic made for him, and then at the end of the movie, we end up getting a tie back to it where Hiccup also loses a foot, and then they're kind of this tied together in this. It doesn't matter if you have a handicap situation or something that's not normal physically, you can still overcome and be gosh, I remember this. But it's not in your face, and that's what's nice about it,
I remember long ago reading this book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and it talked about this idea of interdependent relationships, and it drew a vast distinction between that and dependency. A relationship built on dependency is not a healthy relationship, but interdependency, where you're kind of relying on each other in a very positive way, where you communicate and stuff, can be very powerful. And that's something that demonstrated with the way that, how he was able to enable Toothless to do the things he did with the you know the rig that he did so he could extend his tail out and stuff like that, to where they really did kind of have to rely on each other, or at least Toothless had to rely on
Hiccup
at until the end, when there was a lot more reliance on other people and stuff like that, and then in the end they both lost a limb, or they both had a limb lost in a sense, and it became a true interdependent relationship that I did see the second movie, and I know that dealt with the mother, I believe, but I can't remember that. I never saw the third movie, so I don't know how that relationship progresses. I'm kind of eager to lean
the
in.
third movie gives Toothless a love interest.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The third is not the best of the movies. The second one is
I heard it was pretty good.
decent.
I don't know. I just heard something today when I was listening to someone.
They are not
discussing
bad.
them that was saying that all three of them were good movies.
Oh, they are. Like I said, I don't know. I take that back. There is one How to Train Your Dragon spinoff that I did not like, and it's a more recent one where it's like kids of kids. Like, it's not even the main characters. It's recent. It's like within the last couple years. It was fucking horrible.
Okay.
It was bad. But the original, the ones that were done in that 2011, 12 timeframe are incredible. I couldn't speak more highly of them. I think it's Dragon. Let's see, Dragon 2, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World were the two movies. Those were both pretty decent. Like, well enough that they're worth watching again. But realistically, I think if you really enjoy the team and the dragon ridings and just the dragons, you got to go watch the animated series. So good. Dragons: The Race to the Edge is, I think, the better of the two. It's from 2015, and it has like 70 something episodes.
Nice. What was the we saw Wild Robot a few months back. What was the mother with the kids,
the
possums? Yeah. I kept thinking of them during this movie because you're dealing with Vikings and all, you're fighting dragons, and I kept expecting to experience some sort of death, and I was very curious how. It's been a dozen years since I saw the movie, so I couldn't remember how it all played out. So I couldn't remember if they addressed death at all in this first movie. And they do a little bit with the dragons being eaten by the queen dragon, but
yeah, they call it a red death.
But I kept expecting someone in the Viking world to die, and I wasn't sure if they'd play it very much like the possums did in Wild Robot when one of the kids
my God,
disappeared. It's like, I've got 9.
I got 7. 6 kids.
Yeah, exactly. Which I was kind of hoping that they could pull it off that same way. That's a hard thing to pull off in a movie it's more for kids. And Wild Robot did brilliantly. This one I stayed away from it. It didn't address it.
Yeah,
maybe they do in the second movie, because I know they do address mom, but I think they actually bring her back. So
yeah, they bring her back. She was supposed to be missing.
Okay.
The one is fun. This is middle of the movie. This is after Toothless and Hiccup are kind of doing their ride along. Matter of fact, this is they kidnap Astrid and because the whole scene of meeting Toothless and fly her around, and they get caught up in a flight pattern with a bunch of other dragons that are bringing in food into the mother island. And this is where we learn about the big huge red death dragon that they're dropping the food in, and they got this poor Gronkle coming in, which Gronkles are the kind of the fat slug looking, they got. You
wonder why they can fly.
Tiny ass little wings and big body. They're the nerd of the dragon world for sure. But yeah, you get this one that comes in there just doofy, is like, and he doesn't have a lot of. He has like a fish or something like that, and then the big dragon eats him, and you're like, oh, you feel so bad for the Gronkle at that point.
But look at me laughing at the same time.
It was funny, but it was also you're also like, oh, sad. I mean, that's kind of one of those first times when you start to really feel bad for the other dragons too. And yeah, so that's where we learn about it, and then that's where it gets into the final action scene where everything turns into the big battle. And I mean, talk about an action-packed battle scene at the end and stuff like that. Just love that. One of the funny things too is we got Fish Legs, who is our fat nerd character. He ends up on the fat nerd dragon, which is pretty funny. And you talked about the side characters not being anything special. You've got to listen for their voices and the shit they say in the background. Between Fish Legs and Tough Nut, the shit they say in the background is hilarious.
One of the things I just kind of realized that, when I pieced together who the voice actors were, it helped. But before that, I got them all confused. I just thought that was one voice kind of resonating in the background. They all sound very similar. And I think that's kind of tricky. You want to be a little bit more, be able to distinguish between those voices a little better. But anyway, okay, go on. I'm sorry.
But well, I mean, one of the ones of Fish Legs is it's like I think he's the first time he's flying the Gronkel, which you get the fat guy and the fat nerdy kid on the fat nerdy dragon, and it flips over and lands on him. He's like, "I'm doing okay, not okay."
That's right. It does like a flip.
It lands right on top of him.
Yeah.
And the other one that makes me laugh is when they're doing the early training battles against the different dragon types. Tough Nut, who is the brother of the brother sister duo. He's always running away. He's like, "Oh, I'm hurt. I'm very hurt." He does it like 3 different times, and to me, it's a lot of it's hilarious. It makes me laugh because it's just this little background stuff that they do that if you don't catch it, you don't catch it. But if you do, you're like, oh, that's kind of funny. And that's I think that's those characters, especially Fish Legs and Tough Nut, Rough Nut, to me are very good comic relief characters.
You've watched this, you say, like every year for the last 15 years, right?
I've watched this a lot.
Yeah. So that stuff's going to be like, those are the nooks and crannies you're going to pull things out of as you continue to watch it.
Well, and you get a lot of it in the animated series, the dragons, the Race to the Edge, and then the other one I saw was I think it's just called DreamWorks Dragons. Riders of Berk. And it has the same voice actors came back. Hiccup's the same, Tough Nut's the same, Ashford's the same, Rough Nut and Not Loud are different. Gobber is different. Fish Legs is the same, but they just you get a lot of the same voices, so it really holds the same kind of love for those characters, and they're a bigger part. They become so much more in the story because it's not just all Hiccup. It's Hiccup and the team. So to me, it's, if you are a fan of this movie or this series at all, and you haven't seen those, you got to go see it. Especially if you're a fan of the different type of dragons, because that book that they have to read, Hiccup's going through it, and it's like, it talks about, it will drown you, kill on sight. This type of dragon will, fire this and kill on sight. And they have all the different dragons. You actually go and see, and they find and chase down all these dragons. So you get all the different types of dragons in these animated series. So it's not just the 5 major ones we get in the movie. And it's just a lot of fun. And I think that's what I enjoyed about it. It's a well thought out world building that spans outside the movies, and it
made over almost $500 million at the box office. 494 million is what I see on Wikipedia. So it makes sense that they greenlit a sequel and another sequel and a whole bunch of series, and now recently they've greenlit and coming in about a week, a live action remake. And originally I thought this was a shot for shot remake. That was something I think I asked you about, but I did look that up.
That's what I heard it's supposed to be.
It's not. I did get clarification. It's not a shot for shot thing. They did try to to bring something to it, which I think is better. I think I don't understand a shot for shot.
Well, they did do
remake,
some shot
but-
for shots. I'm looking at one right now. The meeting with Toothless is identical to the animated.
So I remember with it's interesting because Lion King did that. I think there was a whole sequence that they did shot for shot, which maybe they were just kind of stealing the idea because it resonated with potential viewers of the intellectual property that drove them to the theaters, which is my biggest concern, is that this is just a cash grab and that there's no creativity involved in what this is all about. Is that fair to jump to that conclusion? No. But is it what Hollywood has become these days? Absolutely. So it's a fair conclusion.
Watching this movie, I never, ever, ever even crossed my mind. You know what would be really good to see is a real life human riding a CGI dragon. That never fucking crossed my mind at all. Like, I never thought, oh my God, this would be so much better if it was a real boy. I don't need a Pinocchio story for my dragons. I think this is a cash grab. The fact that if they did a live action How to Train Your Dragons 4, same cast, crew, whatever, characters and stuff, but they did a whole new story, I would be more into that than I am seeing one of my absolute favorite animated movies done with people and CGI dragons. It doesn't do anything for me. And I feel that same way with all of these live action remakes. I don't think any of them I'm like, oh my God, I needed to see that. The closest to any of them, and I thought to me was probably the better of the ones, is probably one that most people don't even think about, is Jungle Book. I thought that was kind of good, but I still was like, it's still not better than the animated original. Beauty and the Beast, not better than the animated original. I haven't seen Snow White. I don't think I'm going to. I never saw The Lion King. I just didn't need to see. I don't know if you can make it better,
Sure. I was trying to look up some stuff that was not Disney. I did come up with, I got a list here somewhere.
Well, that's what's interesting. This is DreamWorks. It wasn't.
No,
Disney
I know because well, every movie you just mentioned was Disney animated. Was Disney animated, and so they have kind of a hit and miss track record, but again, they're trying to match the identical tone of the animated feature, and to me that seems a little bit like, okay, my eyes roll a little bit, and I'm like, they're just trying to tap into that same audience energy that came with the animated one and doing it in a live action way, and that just seems so boring. I'm looking at some movies where animated things have been. So The Last Airbender, we've talked about that. That was a joke. It was a really poor adaptation.
Oh, now, did you watch the series that they did?
I have not, but
that's actually pretty good.
Okay, interesting, because that kind of leans into my ideas about what I'd like to see for an adaptation when it came to this movie. But before we get to that, Speed Racer, remember that in 2008?
Yeah,
that was the Wachowskis, the same ones who did Matrix. They went and did it, which they tried to capture a lot of the same kind of animation style in the framing of things and stuff, which was interesting, but I don't know, it still didn't work. Ghost in the Shell, that was Scarlett Johansson.
That got a lot of bad press. I don't know. I never saw the animation.
Whitewashing,
so
they talked about that because of Scarlett Johansson casting and stuff. Alita, Battle Angel, that was another one that was based on animation. Astro Boy, but I don't know what that is.
But were they the same stories of the actual animation just redid with live action? Where the Disney, this one is, where I think like Speed Racer was not just one movie. It was tons of 30-minute cartoons, and they kind of made a whole new story out of Speed Racer.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to,
but you know what I'm saying is a little bit different. Like if you're going to make a live action, that's great, but do a new story.
But what you mentioned about Last Airbender, the more recent
series,
adaptation, which I haven't seen, and shame on me, because this is what I would be more excited about, a live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon, if it kind of got a little bit more gritty and grounded. But see, that's me. That's kind of what I like to see, and so I don't think that's not gonna drive audiences to the theater. That's just gonna satiate my artistic desire to see how this translates to kind of more of a quote unquote real world adaptation, and that does not seem like what this is. This is more, let's try to capture that same sort of look of the animated feature.
And this is going to make me sound like a total dick or whatever, but this is
leading into your to Hiccup's father, Stoic, right? The asshole.
Well, no, okay. So this goes a little. So Stoic, Gerard Butler is back to play Stoic.
Right.
Okay, and they did a pretty decent job in trying to cast actors that looked a lot like the animated character outside of Astrid, where they did a race swap. And this is one that a lot of people have come out and said, why the hell? What, I mean, if you're going to go so hardcore into making these other characters look so much like the original animated, why would you then go off and make this character someone different?
You know, it's interesting you bring this up, because when we were talking about the accents, I thought that kind of supported this idea of it's not all about realism. It's about kind of what seems to fit whatever you'd like to fit. I mean, why did they put Scottish accents on the adults and American accents on the kids? Nobody really appeared to notice, and it seemed to work. So great.
Right.
To me, that it's almost the same thing I'd like to see with casting. I like this idea of kind of this.
But why go so hardcore on everybody else but one character?
I don't know the casting, so I can't address it specifically. But I like the idea of devaluing this idea of having to match source material identity. You know, I think the younger generation is much more supportive of anything goes. It's not about trying to match skin color or accent or identity or gender or these sort of things. It's about telling a story, and if you can kind of match that, if you can still tell a story, then fuck it, who cares? I think we're of a generation where that's a little tougher, especially when, like you're pointing out, it sounds like it's hones in on one character, kind of like what we've talked about. The HBO Snape is the one character that seems to be a different cultural background. I like the idea of making that no longer relevant. And I think the younger generation is more open to that, but I could be wrong.
Okay, I kind of agree with you in a little bit. Yeah, if you're going to try and make it irrelevant, then why do partials?
Well, I mean,
that was the case. Then why not just do that with everybody?
You got to make choices. So I mean, you have to cast. If you otherwise, I mean, I don't know.
It's one of those, and I'm trying not to seem like, oh my god.
I know.
And it's one of those. It's like, to me, it's a Viking. There's very, very prominent, representation of the Viking, but yet you're going to change it. It's just one of those
things. They put American accents on the kids. So why did they do that? Because and people didn't even notice. So that almost leans into that same argument that it doesn't really matter if it helps the story in a positive way. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, directors have to make casting directors have to make choices, and I guess my hope is that they're not just trying to check a box, as you've talked about in the past. That's not.
Well, that's what it seems like a little bit on this one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think the whole thing's a check the box because I don't think this needed to be made.
Well, shit, I absolutely agree with Hollywood these days is so much more about the IP, about the return on investment, which is, I don't know how to change that in Hollywood. I mean, we've talked about supporting kind of smaller productions, and I think we were leaning in. I remember we'd had this great idea with Marvel, how you can get young filmmakers on Netflix or on Disney to generate kind of these short films that just they send out investments to colleges and stuff like that to just generate a whole bunch of people and their perspective on these, and see what resonates and stuff. And to me, that's just a great way of inspiring new art, and not it's art versus this return on investment.
Rehash, right?
Yeah.
Regurgitate the same shit that already's like. Yeah, I agree with you. That, like I said, to me, a live action, if they did, even if it was a series like we talked with HBO, going back to Harry Potter, new series, new shorts, whatever. Live action with that would be kind of cool, but give us a new story. Give us something different.
Well,
give us something new.
I think I mentioned that what I read with the Harry Potter is that they do have some changes to the source material, but it didn't sound like you were very excited about that. So that's
when I first heard it, they were saying that they were going to be more true to the books.
Okay, but
so it's like, what story are you buying?
Okay, whichever's true, which do you prefer? Because you just said you want to.
Well, okay, if they're going to do the main three, right? The golden trio. I want true to the books. I want the stuff that they left out of the movies to get back in there. I want all the details. I want almost shot for shot for the book.
Yeah.
Right? Because we didn't get that in the movies for the most part. Now, if they're going to go miniseries, shorts, and stuff like that, fine. Give me a day in the life of Neville Longbottom.
Right.
Give me a day in, give me Slytherin.
So if you do like 15 episodes per season, you do 7 of the episodes that are dedicated to the source material, and then the other 8 episodes are kind of like sprinkled with these little extra stories. That's an epic idea. I like that.
That would be so cool.
Oh my God.
That would be like, or follow Snape like through all of his classes,
right?
Like a week of Snape teaching, like his worst week of teaching ever.
Yeah. So they're adding to it in a way that expands on it while still being loyal to the source material. Maybe that's what they're doing. Interesting. That's a risk, though. Again, it's such a risk, and nobody who invests so much money in one of the things I think that Harry Potter has going for it is that people are going to, I mean, it has all this controversy now, but we're all going to watch it. I mean, it's
for sure.
It's like J.K. Rowling has controversies. The casting has controversies. It's just like we're in a world where it's all about controversy right now.
But everything's a controversy now.
But my God, we still want to watch it, and so it's going to be. Yep. I have a feeling it's going to be successful. It's kind of the property is at that level of it doesn't matter. It's going to be successful unless they completely screw the pooch. I mean, which is I guess a possibility if they go full on. Woke I'm not a fan of that word, but I think there is a leaning in of woke that just does not address, discounts art. It's just all about checking boxes, like you say, and that would be ridiculous. Yep. So hopefully that's not what they end up doing, and it does come out. I mean, we talked about it in our last episode of the Harry Potter books and movies. The casting of the 3 kids looks really good. I hope that they, because the original kids were young unknowns, and it just blew them up, and that's kind of what they're doing on this, it seems. So we'll see. I still kind of the smile on the kid that cast as Harry Potter just kind of annoys me. But again, it's one shot.
Well, but you know what?
I'm being petty.
You can't tell me that Daniel Radcliffe didn't annoy you in the first movie. He was kind of annoying. He was Harry Potter in general was kind of an annoying kid, so I could see that.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to put myself back then. I mean, even after 8 movies, I thought the casting was brilliant.
Right, yeah.
So it's hard to really. I can't think of anyone that I wouldn't have cast differently.
So going into casting, I wanted to get back to How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay.
I know you're pretty good with voices and stuff like that. And did you notice David Tennant?
I didn't. I mean, I saw him in the cast list, but no, I did not pick his voice out.
Yeah, I did. I don't think I did either. And I mean, he has I think he has 2 or 3 lines. It's really small.
Yeah, T.J. Miller totally stood out because of The Incredibles, and to me, it felt.
Oh,
like,
so to me, it's Deadpool.
No, it wasn't Deadpool for me. Wasn't he in The Incredibles? He was the red-haired the big bad, right?
No, I don't think that's him.
Oh well, that's the voice that I thought of when I thought of him. If I am wrong, then nope, you're probably
no. That's
the voice I thought of. It sounds so much like the voice from The Incredibles, but you're right, it's not him.
It's not.
I'm talking out my ass, but
you are. It's okay though.
But his voice sounds exactly like that, and so that's all.
To me,
that's what was in my head was the kid from The Incredibles.
To me, it's Deadpool. He's the guy from Deadpool, well, I guess you know what? For me, the guy from Deadpool is more him, right? He's more of the tough nut, right? Something about I don't know. Like I've seen these so many times. That it just they come to me from this rather than other things that they did. That's why to me it's weird. Let's see, the guy you're talking about. Oh God, what was his name?
Well, we can just look up The Incredibles.
I know. I'm looking. I'm trying to find it real quick. Jason Lee.
Right. Gosh, they have the same voice. Yep.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, they do. No, they do. I'm going to run it through. I'm going to run it through some sort of voice recognition and see if they're a match. I bet they are.
Funny. The only one that really never came back and really kind of did anything, I think, is Kristen Wiig. She stepped away after this, but she got big.
I never heard her voice in the movie. I mean, I heard the speaking voice, but it never resonated Kristen Wiig, which, you know, I know her. I think she's hilarious in Saturday Night Live. I think she's done some Bridesmaids, and you know, she's done some really good stuff. So I recognize her characters and her voice, but it didn't stand out.
I think it's her and Jonah Hill are the only two that never really came back. And
Jonah Hill, yeah, absolutely sounded like Jonah Hill, and McLovin sounded like McLovin, but it wasn't until I actually honed in on those voices. It just sounded like a blur to me, all those voices. So, but
I guess I'm wrong.
She
ahead. Did come back. She did the movie. She just didn't do the animated series.
Okay, that's fair.
So I had that wrong, but I think Jonah Hill. I think he stepped away. But yeah, this to me is just a fun.
Jonah Hill was there for the third movie.
Did he do the movies too?
I see him in the cast list of The Hidden World. So, and as well as Kristen Wiig, which you I guess you already said that. Yes.
Yeah, it looks like they did. Okay, so they. Oh, and he interesting. Oh, he was in 2 episodes of the one of the series. Never mind. There's so many little things of this, but so I guess they did the movies. They just didn't do the TV series, where the TV series actually had some of the actual actors and stuff, which was really cool.
Who played the? I'm looking at the poster for The Hidden World, and I see Toothless looking at a white dragon. Which
yep.
Who played the voice of the white dragon? Because I don't
know if they have a voice. Dragons don't speak.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Yeah. Stupid me. Okay.
Which is different in the books. Apparently, the dragons do speak in the books, which they. Like I said, I have them, but I've never read them.
Well, that's the thing about expressing getting your message across. In the animated movies, they can animate it, and they do such a brilliant job of that. Whereas in the books, they can't animate something, so you have to somehow get that across, whether it's through voice or through thought bubbles.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's. I think it's really cool the way they did this, and like I said, it's a great story. This is. I mean, we've done The Incredibles, which is probably my other animated like go-to movie. Like if there's movies, animated movies that I'm going to go to, those are the two that really stand out in my book. Not because of anything animation spectacular, like oh my god, that's the greatest. We talked a lot about with the new Spider-Man. Spider-Verse movies and stuff like that, where the animation had this kind of new crazy style and different, where everybody's talking about that. These didn't have things like that, but they just have great characters, great stories, and to me that's more important than some gimmick where
they can find those emotional moments that resonate and just lean into them so well. Even this one, I thought the music was a great compliment to the animation. They really found those moments in this movie and made them resonate in a very effective way to make this a movie that you could watch over and over again.
I'm trying to think what other DreamWorks movies.
Shrek, right? I mean, Shrek was.
Oh, that's right. Well, okay, there you go. Why don't we have a live action Shrek? That's the question you got to ask. What I mean.
Well, didn't they have a stage production? Wasn't there a stage production of Shrek? I think I
don't know.
I think I actually might have seen it. Did I see?
Oh, that's crazy.
No, it wasn't Shrek. I think it was another. I've seen. They do stage productions on a lot of different things. But now I got to look into that. I don't have an answer, so.
I mean, well, I guess, Kung Fu Panda is another DreamWorks. That's pretty big. I guess they're Chicken Run. That's another good one. What was the other? There was another one that someone was. Turbo. Did you ever watch Turbo?
No.
It's the one about the snail. It's fucking hilarious. It's
okay,
great.
there was a Shrek the Musical. Yes.
Oh, that's ridiculously funny.
Yep.
So good. I'm trying to think, what are the, I guess I'm not seeing, Shrek. Oh, they did Wild Robot too. Okay, so Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon, and the whole Kung Fu Panda series. So they've got a pretty good track record with some good animated movies. Ants.
DreamWorks comes from Spielberg I got to tell you, I'm a big. I mean, I grew up Spielberg. He was with all the movies of my childhood were deep Spielberg. E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't think I saw Jaws till later, but there were so many great ones. But when DreamWorks became the new logo for DreamWorks, I think that was in the early 90s or something like that. But I've never liked the intro of DreamWorks where it shows the moon,
guy fishing from the moon,
the person fishing. To me, that's always just been it's just missed its mark, and I don't know why. But even with this, I watched it and I saw that, and I was immediately just kind of sour to it.
Really?
I know.
I've always thought it was really cool. I like that better than the little lamp coming out and stomping on the eye.
No, I like the lamp. I like the lamp. To me, it's you know what it is? It's too busy.
Like violence.
There's too much. There's too much going on. I like some things that are more simple.
That is the simplest thing ever. A moon with a little guy fishing.
All right. Did
you see the Night Fury fly in the background of the logo?
They always kind of find a way of fitting it into whatever movie they're doing. But I'm just sharing.
Oh my God.
I've never liked it, and I'm a huge Spielberg fan.
You say it's too busy, but yet you like the animated lamp that comes out and hops and makes noises and causes violence and beats up another letter.
You know what else I liked? Remember the Dolby? Was it? No, it wasn't Dolby. It was the. Well, THX. Remember THX sound when the guy would come out and the thing would go, brrr, and then it like go, and the guy would come out and fix it and stuff like that and plug it back in and then it goes. Brrr. I always loved that.
Okay. Seemed a little busy to me.
yeah,
Kind of like, why don't you do your job in the first place?
Busy. I mean, there were too many different elements going on rather than kind of.
See, to me, the DreamWorks, that moon to me is like, you know what that screams right there?
What?
That screams imagination.
Okay, I understand.
Fishing from the moon to me, it screams imagination.
I agree with that. That idea works, but the way they put it on screen just was a little too much for me, and that's just my opinion.
That's funny. The main thing we disagree about most is the opening credits for DreamWorks rather than anything in the movie.
Oh no, the movie's epic. I mean, I had some topics to talk about as far as whether or not it was being responsible, the idea of empathy and stuff like that. But this is just a really powerful movie and simple and good characters and makes you just really care
amazes
for these
me
characters.
Is how short it actually is.
Oh, is it?
When I go back and watch it, it's only like an hour and a half. It's that tight 90 what they talk about, right? It's
sure.
like 94 minutes, I think, is what it comes out to. Sorry, 98. But to me, when I watched it again, I was just this week, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how quick this is. And I think that's because of all the other stuff I've watched. It all melds into one big life story. It's instead of just like, you watch some other movies and they kind of, each one has its own thing. Star Wars, for instance. What happened in each one of those movies. They don't meld into each other. You don't go like, oh wait, did that happen in this one or this one or this one?
Yeah, but keep in mind that was also a father-son story, just like this one. So leading into the same themes, which to me is very
well. I mean, what do you want to do in life to grab people's attention? You get them where their heartstrings are, right?
Yeah.
Father, sons, mother,
Absolutely.
daughters, father, daughters, family, it all of that, pets, the love of pets. This has a little bit of all of it. Empathy, trying to fit in. It has a little bit of everything, and Scottish accents. Come on. Who doesn't love a good Scottish accent?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. So we're getting close to the end of this one, but one of the things is I want to talk about our next episode, right? We're doing our throwback.
Yeah.
And there's a tie to this movie to our next one. And I don't know if you knew about this one or not, but
Spielberg.
Well, okay, there's that, but there's even another one, and maybe this is why this is in there. So when they do a close up of Hiccup drawing the tail on it, he's at his workbench, and there's all these papers and things tacked up.
Yeah,
there is a picture in the background of a drawing that closely resembles the flux capacitor.
Oh, you're kidding! Oh, that's awesome.
And so what we're hitting next week is we're
2
going
weeks. 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, 2 weeks. We're going to take next week off because Steve has a very important trip that he has to take, and so we're gonna take a little bit of break, but we're gonna double up for you guys the week after that. So 2 weeks from now, we're gonna double up. We're gonna come to you with Back to the Future from 1985. So we're talking 40-year anniversary of Back to the Future.
That's true. And it's kind of a shame that it's not 30 years because that seems to fit a little bit more with the storyline. But we're gonna change that to 40 years for our podcast.
So so I just thought that was kind of funny when I was reading through the IMDb stuff. I saw that and I was like, oh my God, that is so perfect to have that tie in to what we're doing next week. I just thought that was perfect.
Yes.
So join us in our next episode, not necessarily a week away, and you probably aren't listening to these right when they drop anyways, but you should be.
And you got to listen because I have heard it from a small birdie that one of our hosts may may not quite resonate with this movie like many people do. So it'll be an interesting take.
I heard that same birdie talking about that. Yep. So, well, it'll be interesting to see. I just love these throwbacks that are the 30, 40 years just to see if they hold up.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things is if you can find a movie that holds up 40 years later, you've got something, and that's, kind of fun to find out. All right. And with that, I can say is now the spinning. Thank you for nothing, you useless reptile.
Hail Caesars.
What does that mean?